Welcome to the T ROH Show. It's your host Keith, Stu, and Tony. Say hello, guys.
Good afternoon, folks.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, we're on a little bit of a different format here today because we wanted people to see what we're talking about. They can read it and see it for themselves rather than just hearing it and then putting links up on the bottom of the YouTube page for people to go look at. This way, people are able to follow along and enjoy the program. We've got a extremely important program today. There was we don't often get them, but we found we have a new discovery, and it's always exciting for us when we do that. It's a lot of fun because it puts about 50 different subjects together and answers about 150 different questions that may have come up over the past 6 months. So we're going to share screens with you soon. However, what we're going to look at today and we're going to be talking about is the independence of the judiciary. A lot of people have had a lot of problems with the with the courts, and they can't figure out why and what the problem is. And then the first thing they say, well, this is fraud, and essentially they're correct. They are correct. We just have to be real specific about what the fraud is and what's really going on. So let's deal with the independence of the judiciary and where it came from. So when you hear that term, you'll know where it comes from. So I'm going to share screens with everyone. And here's the basic principles of on the independence of the judiciary. And what happened was it was adopted by the Seventh United Nations Congress in the Prevention of Crime and Treatment of Offenders, held in Milan from 26 August to 6 September 1985, and endorsed by the General Assembly resolutions and blah, blah, blah. And what they're saying here is they want the judicial branches of all governments around the world to be independent. And let me say that, but what the real deal is, they want the judicial part of all the companies around the world to be under the control of one body, which would be world government. So what happened was, just as a side note, you take the EU, all of them, all the countries in the European Union got rid of their national currency. When they did that and they went to the euro, they gave up their national sovereignty. And when they did that, because currency and sovereignty are the same things, and when they did that, they all became private companies under the United Nations. That's what I mean by all the companies of the world. First, you have to get countries to give up their national sovereignty. Then you can put in your company government. When you put in your company government, you have control as the CEO of a company if you're trying to take over the world. So whereas in the Charter of the United Nations, the peoples of the world affirm inter alia their determination to establish conditions under which justice can be maintained and achieve international cooperation in promoting and encouraging respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms without any discrimination. Absolutely not true. That has nothing really to do with the Charter. That is a misconception of the Charter of the United Nations. The Charter of the United Nations was originally, this was the bait, was originally a bunch of sovereign nations coming together as one to resolve their problems at the United Nations table. This particular part, as far as basic principles on the independence of the judiciary, had nothing to do with the United Charter of the United Nations. That was a communist group that got in there and started changing the whole UN, and that's when it became corrupted. So the United Nations itself is not a country. So it can't change anything. And it was supposed to be a bunch of countries until everybody gave up their country's currency, their money. That's why countries that kept their money, that's why it's so inflated, because they're trying to force people into giving up that country to give up their national currency. And when they do, then everything levels out. And that's what it's all about. Is where the Universal Declaration of Human Rights enshrines in particular and principle equality before the law, of the presumption of innocence, and of the right of fair and public hearing by a competent and independent and impartial tribunal established by law. Okay, that's all good and well, but it really had nothing to do with the independence of the judiciary. So they use the genius of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and I say that because if studied, you can see what it actually does and what it combats. And Eleanor Roosevelt was a genius, by the way. What this does right here, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it actually combats what they're trying to do here with the independence of the judiciary. It's a complete opposite of each other. And I know a lot of people have not read this, or not really familiar with this, but this does come from the United Nations. Not that it gives it any credence, but this is the kind of thing that the government of the United States of America deals with and looks at on a daily basis, on picking out where these small groups have hijacked the UN. Not that we care if they hijacked it, it's just it affects everyone. It even affects the government of the United States of America. So that's why we watch out for this. It says, whereas the Organization Administration of Justice, it goes on to blah, blah, blah and crap, okay? I just wanted to tell you where it was with the basic principles on the independence of the judiciary, where it came from, because it has everything to do with what we're going to be talking about today. So we started there. Now, here's what Wikipedia says about this. Not that they're any kind of major authority, but they do have some good stuff in here sometimes. It says judicial independence is a concept that the judiciary needs to be kept away from other branches of government. Seriously? Seriously? Well, the judiciary needs to be kept away from the other branches of government. Okay. You just wiped out your government. Okay, that is, courts should not be subject to improper influence. They already are when they deal with the judicial independence and being kept away from other branches of government. Okay, so this is how they write stuff at the international level, and you got to be able to pick this kind of crap out. It's amazing.
It's how they fractionalize everything.
Yeah, they fractalize things, and then they classify things or put under different classifications and everything, so that you don't. It sounds great. This is a great deal until you really understand it. It says that is, courts should not be subject to improper influence from other branches of government. Really? It's hilarious. And or from the private or partisan interests. It says judicial independence is vital and important idea of separation of powers. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with separation of powers. What it has to do with is a larger group of people came together and took over a smaller group of people that their function was to make decisions that were to the benefit and independence of a nation. That's what they're there for. They make judicial decisions that are for the benefit of the people, and that benefit of the people is are defined as keeping the sovereignty of the nation intact. It's for the independence of the nation. So the judicial branch makes those decisions to maintain the independence of its country. When you separate that, you wiped out the independence of the country. So different countries deal with the idea of judicial independence through different means of judicial selection or choosing judges. That's because you guys sold it to them and they started doing it because they didn't know any better. It says one way to promote judicial independence is by granting life tenure or long tenure for judges. Oh my God, that's funny. Which ideally frees them to decide cases and make rulings according to the rule of law and judicial discretion. No, it does not. And we're going to show you why. Even if those decisions are politically unpopular or opposed by powerful interests, this concept can be traced back to the 18th century England. So, this, even if those decisions are politically unpopular or opposed by powerful interests. This is a communist statement right here. That's what the communists use, because it's created to incite you against the powerful and create division. That's what it's for. In some countries, the ability of judiciary to check the legislature is enhanced by the power of judicial review. That's always been in place. Judges have been able to do judicial reviews when they see their legislature going off on the deep end. And it's not a judicial decision, it's a judicial review to show where there's going to be flaws. And it puts the legislature back where it's supposed to. But that has nothing to do with the judicial independence, okay? This has nothing to do with this concept here, which is the concept of the judiciary needs to be kept away from other branches of government. That has nothing to do with this. So this power can be used, for example, by mandating certain action when the judiciary perceives that a branch of government is refusing to perform a constitutional duty, or by declaring laws passed by the legislature unconstitutional. That's under judicial review. See, that's already in place. You don't need anything else. It's already there, but they're putting it under this concept here, which is the judicial independence is the concept that the judiciary needs to be kept away from other branches of government. So in other words, there was no need for this right here, judicial independence, because the courts in all constitutions around the world have the power of judicial review. They turned it around to make you believe that judicial independence was here first. And in some countries, the ability of the judiciary to check the legislature is enhanced by the power of judicial review. No, that means that this is actually worthless, meaning the judicial independence, and they're jumping in to get rid of the power of judicial review that was already in place. That's all that's happening here. Okay, so about, I'd say within 10 years ago, I can never really give up, I personally was looking up these associations. I started looking at the bar associations, trying to find out, who ran them, what the, who do you complain to, this kind of thing. And I can tell you that quick story. It'll only take about a minute. I called the state association and bar association, and I asked them. I said, who do I complain to? In other words, if I have a complaint about the bar association itself, not necessarily a particular lawyer, who would I call or who would I talk to? And they said, well, all associations or bar associations are independent. I said, okay. I said, but if I were to write a complaint, who would I write a complaint to? And they said that would be the American Bar Association. I said, okay, where are they? And they said, Michigan. I said, all right, I'll call them. So I called the American Bar Association. And I asked them, I said, if I had a complaint about the American Bar Association, who would I call? And they go, well, they're all independent. Same answer. So I said under my breath, I said, well, they must all be held in trust or something. And then the girl says, no. Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the International Bar Association. And that is located in London, England. So I wrote them in London, England, to that particular address, what I found. And later on, they had been removed. They moved it completely. Because there was a complaint. I was writing a complaint about the American Bar Association at the time. So that tells you right there. I wanted to show that is because I want you to see a hierarchy. That there's a state level association, what they deem as a national level association that goes across the state lines, and then there's an international association. Now that's from the bottom up. Let's start from the top down. So this is the International Association of Judges, and it's promoting an independent judiciary worldwide. That's these guys right here. Okay, it looks a lot like the United Nations right here. They just put this equal weights and measures. I can't remember what that actually does. Equal justice or some crap. Okay, International Association of Judges. Now, this particular association, they fight against corruption. The International Association of Judges is organized in 4 regional groups. So if you're fighting against corruption right here, and you have a bar association that runs the judiciaries on the state, national, and international level, and this particular judges or association of judges fights against corruption, it shows the hypocrisy here because of the simple fact that the very same associations are the ones committing the corruption. So you're going to fight, you create this mass organization and there's corruption in it, and now you're going to fight against that corruption. It's kind of like a snake eating its own tail. It's absolutely ludicrous. But believe it or not, people across the world and at the UN level fall for this. They all clap and you know, and they give the golf clap. And they shake their heads yes, and we agree, and all this other kind of thing.
That's funny, the golf clap.
Yeah, they give the golf clap. I just wanted to, you know, show people, especially in this particular program, what this the government of the United States of America looks at and what we do quite a bit, okay? And how, when you're looking at this kind of thing, what you're really seeing and what's really going on, and you'll understand, you know, that it's different. it's just a different way of looking at the point of view. It's not like dealing with a local judge. That's a total joke, but or even a federal joke too. It's funny watching those guys do what they do, but not funny as in the amount of human rights violations they commit, but it's funny as in how full of shit they are. That's the whole thing. Okay, now the International Association, I want you to remember one thing here. This is the International Association of Judges was founded in Salzburg, Austria in 1953. Now, Austria has been bailing out the United States company for years on a dream that it is the light of freedom. Okay, so just realize that that's why Austria does this. So it is a professional, non-political international organization bringing together national associations of judges, not individual judges. Listen to that. Not individual judges. Remember that right there. Not individual judges. They bring together national associations of judges, not individual. Say that 4 more times. Not individual judges. Remember that. Approved by the Central Council for admission to the association. Okay, this is just a couple of guys that got together that run the association. That's all that happened. They're nobody big. They just put in the Central Council because it sounds big.
Sounds official.
Yeah, it sounds official. It says the main aim of the association is to safeguard the independence of the judiciary. Oh, yeah. You mean the same independence of the judiciary that you guys just took over because you just took over the judicial branch of all the countries. Okay? Which is an essential requirement of judicial function, guaranteeing human rights and freedom. No such guarantee. There's actually been less human rights and freedom. Much less human rights and freedom. And we'll get into that because they get the private detention centers are not of the state, and they're privately owned by the judges that run them. And we're going to get into that. We're going to show you how that happens. Okay, and keep in mind that the International Association of Judges, okay, is headquartered in Roma, Italy, even though it was created in Austria. It was founded in Austria, but it's headquartered in Roma, Italy. Now, a lot of people think when they think of Italy, they think of the Pope every time, Pope Francis. Well, that's just like a 2-mile square of Italy. I mean, you know, with 39-foot walls, some 200-foot walls. So this is a real small, little dinky freaking city-state. Italy has its own president and legislature and everything else. But how many people can tell you who the president of Italy is? All around the world. Or what form of government it has. Now, last I checked, somebody that is from a democratic or a republic form of government can't really do business in a communist country. And Italy is a communist government. It has a communist national government. It has for years. But no one sees that, or no one thinks to look further. You know, they always think Italy, Pope, that's it. Guy in white hat, white pajamas. Okay, that's all they see. So this particular International Association of Judges, that's a union, by the way, is in Roma, Italy, which is a full-on fledged communist government. So that being the case, you can go into these organizations and then you'll go to member associations. Well, I have that open up over here. Okay, so there's your member association. Oh, lo and behold, the USA Federal Judges Association. There it is, such a shock. Were you shocked, Tony? Federal Judges Association is a part of the independent judiciary of the United Nations. Anyway, so
Yeah.
sorry, it's such a joke when I watch this. Look at this stuff, it's hilarious. Now it says not individual judges. Going back here, okay, so this association has to be a member and not individual judges. That association has to be a member of the International Association of Judges, not individual members. Okay, so here's the home, and this sounds great. It was a wonderful thing. The Federal Judges Association is a national voluntary organization of the United States federal judges, appointed pursuant to Article 3 of the Constitution. Okay. Now, we'll get back to that. Whose mission is to support and enhance the role of its members within a fair, impartial, and independent judiciary. That had nothing to do with any form of Article 3 Constitution. Okay. The terms and conditions of Article 3 of their company constitution had nothing to do with an impartial or independent judiciary. Okay, they had to remain neutral. That was the original agreement. You had to, not impartial, but neutral. So they changed the terms. Okay, so the concept here has nothing to do with the concept here. They're completely two different things. Okay, to actually build a community of interest among its members, are you saying that nobody's really interested in what you're doing? And to sustain our system of justice through civics, education, and public outreach. And why do you have to public outreach when you're supposed to be a public branch, serving the public? Why do you have to outreach to the public unless you're private? Fair enough.
Advertising, marketing.
It really doesn't say crap. It doesn't really say anything. You didn't really learn anything from that paragraph. Okay, it was just a bunch of blah 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 blah. The independence of Article 3 judges is assured under the Constitution of their appointment for life without diminution in pay. Really? I didn't know that. Did you know that? In other words, it's total crap. Nominated by the President of the United States and confirmed by the United States Senate, Article 3 judges are thus protected from intimidation, undue influence, coercion, or domination, so that they may judge fairly and independently in every case as the law and facts require. So why did you have to become a member of a international association of judges that came from the United Nations. If this, in fact, were true. Inevitably, from time to time, some judicial decisions are unpopular. Every one of your judicial decisions are unpopular because you haven't made a judicial decision since, I don't know, when you got rid of your national currency. So the FGA, as an independent organization, can speak in one voice to protect the independence of the judiciary and to explain its significance to a free society. The association expresses the collective view of Article 3 judges to other branches of government and the public on issues related to fair and impartial courts. Oh, read that again. The FJA, as an independent organization, can speak in one voice to protect the independence of the judiciary and to explain its significance to a free society. The association expresses the collective view of Article 3 judges. Really? Okay, so now the association is a representative.
Speaks for the judges.
To speak for the judges to the legislative and executive branch of the company. So they had to throw a private membership association in the middle of them because they left their post. Their post was Article 3 of the Constitution. They're gone now. It's right there. They tell you. Right in their about page. So they express the collective view of Article 3 judges to other branches of government and the public on issues related to fair and impartial courts. I don't really understand that because you don't have any Article 3 judges anymore. Those Article 3 judges cannot claim one so-called authority while they left it to adhere to a United Nations resolution.
It's like they want the best of both worlds.
Yes, and this goes all the way down, folks. This goes all the way down to the local level. I mean, your county level. Those judges have nothing to do with the states. They have nothing to do with the federal, nothing. That's why you can't bring a constitution in their courts. They're completely gone. We're going to show you exactly how that happens. So let's rehash this just a little bit so we can get a bigger picture. You have a federal judges association and you have national and state judges associations. So those judges associations collectively become a part of, could be the Federal Judges Association. I haven't looked into it, but I know how they operate. The Federal Judges Association, and then that Federal Judges Association becomes a part of the international. Just like the state bar associations become members of the American Bar Association, and the American Bar Association is a member of the International Bar Association. So they collectively all come together into a massive dome, and then there's one at the top. Is that a fair way of explaining it, guys?
Yep, makes sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and for those who have been listening, since the beginning and learning about private membership associations, here they are in action.
That's exactly right. And every one of these associations have their own constitution. It's not any constitution of the United States. They have their own, and they go by their own bylaws. Fair enough? Now, didn't we say, and didn't we point out, I guess, about 4 or 5 times, that not individual judges can be a part of it? Only together, bringing together national associations of judges, not individual judges, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So, the Federal Judges Association, everybody knows, is a part of the International Association of Judges. It's, I don't know if you guys would think of it. I guess if the company or the United States Inc. was an actual government, this would be considered treason. It kind of makes you wonder whether the plan all the way from 1789 to today was to keep it not a government and to keep it a private company for this reason. So let's go over to, here we go. International Association of Judges, the Universal Charter of the Judge. So this is what happens, folks. And to give you a bigger picture of what's going on here, the state judges associations all become members of the Federal Judges Association, and then you notice that they don't ever put their membership out there. And then that federal becomes a part of the international, which is headquartered in a well-known and long-term communist government. That particular International Association of Judges turns around and issues the Universal Charter of the Judge to the individual judge.
Remember to think of a charter as a constitution.
You got it. So the Universal Charter of the Judge means that each judge is its own, essentially independent country to a certain extent. Independent organization separated from all other branches. Then you're going to say, well, if they're separated, how are they able to enforce state statutes? We're going to show you. Or federal statutes, or any federal laws whatsoever. Okay, we'll show you how to do that. Judges from around the world have worked on the drafting of this charter. The present charter is the result of their work and has been approved by the member associations of the International Association of Judges as general minimal norms. Well, that makes me feel better because at least it has approval and there's authority there. The text of the charter has been unanimously approved by the delegates attending the meeting of the Central Council of International Association of Judges in Taiwan on November 17th, 1999. Does anybody remember that?
I missed that one.
It was all over the news, wasn't it, Stu?
I'm sad to report I missed it.
Yeah, I didn't get the memo either.
Yeah. Oh man, it was on ABC, NBC. They oh my God, they advertised that everywhere. Judges shall, in all their work, ensure the rights of everyone to a fair trial. Well, that makes me feel better. Now, if you have to ensure the rights of everyone to a fair trial, are you saying right now that no one has had a fair trial since before 1999? And are you saying that you have to cut out all that precedence that's been going on for what, 240, 50 years? So all that's cut out because nobody has had a fair trial since then. All that time. Now, under 1999, under this charter, now you're going to have a fair trial. Does that make you guys feel warm and fuzzy?
I feel insured.
I can't wait to go to a court. I'm sure I'm going to get a great deal and
A
justice.
fair trial.
Holy cow. This
They
is
shall
just madness.
It's nuts. It says they shall promote the right of individuals to a fair and public hearing within a reasonable time. I'm sorry. Yeah, that doesn't count the guys that have been sitting in jail for 7 years without. I'm sorry. What happened to the Patriot Act? Hello. This is without any form of trial by an independent and impartial tribunal established by law. I have never been before 3 judges before. Have anybody else? Have you ever been before 3? Unless they go to our Human Rights Tribunal or a General Postmaster Council.
Yeah, no,
That's it.
I've always sat in front of one.
So it's been one. Well, got a judge that's violated his own charter now. Oh man, that's a shock.
Right, exactly. Had I known.
You can't make this up, man. It's right here.
This is the kind of crap that communists and this is the kind of crap that the government of the United States of America sees every day. We see this all the time. It's just what we're looking for and what we're looking at. It's a joke. and the determination of their civil rights and the obligations or of any criminal charge against them. What happened to human rights? The civil rights and human rights are two different things. Well, I guess they changed it again. Gee, the independence of a judge is indispensable to impartial justice under the law. Really? Under what law? Because you just separate him from the judicial and legislative branch. I'm sorry, the executive and legislative branches. So they don't have any law. Under what law? That's the whole thing. It is indivisible. All institutions and authorities, whether national or international, must respect and protect and defend that independence. Really? So you must protect and defend a traitor that just left its own constitution. I'm sorry, man. I'm having a hard time putting that together. Are you guys seeing this? Now all the representatives are now involved in sedition.
Mm-hmm.
You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
They have to defend that independence.
Yeah, I mean, we covered this the other day, and you see more of it than the second time, third time you read it.
Oh, it's an absolute joke. Oh, here's their status. Okay, well, we needed to know that. They're not actually a judge, so we have to know their status. It says judicial independence must be ensured by law, creating and protecting judicial office that is genuinely and effectively independent from other state powers. Really? Seriously? The judge, as holder of judicial office, must be able to exercise judicial powers free from social, economic, and political pressure, and independently from other judges as the administration of the judiciary. Remember that.
Right. Free from political pressure other than the charter that they get dropped in their lap.
Their judicial power from. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Okay, and independently from other judges. Keep that in mind, folks. Okay, so they're independent from other judges and the administration of the judiciary. Really? Okay. And then performance, here's a submission to the law. This is an Article 3 court, by the way, folks, under a constitution. It's called submission to the law. And the performance of the judicial duties, the judge is subject only to the law and must consider only the law. That's an Article 3 court.
Wasn't there a comment the other day that that's why the judge says that they are the law in a courtroom?
Yes, that they're the law. Okay, so if anybody was wondering what I'm talking about, it says pursuant to Article 3 of the Constitution.
Right.
Now, when they say of the Constitution, he didn't say of the Constitution of the United States.
Right. I'll bet you almost every listener immediately thought Constitution of the United States.
Yeah, if it was, they would say
this is how they fool you again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, just because there's a name United States federal judges does not necessarily mean that they're under the Article 3 of the Constitution of the United States. That's not what they're talking, or of the United States of America. They're under Article 3 of the Constitution.
It's not even of the United States, it's of United States.
Yeah. So a charter is the same thing as a constitution. Fair enough? So this is an Article 3 judge. And that's what he's supposed to do.
So is it,
Go ahead.
is it safe to assume that this is written by lawyers?
I would say so.
And when lawyers write these things, I mean, they don't miss anything. Every single word is intentional. Every punctual, everything is intentional. In other words, it's not likely that these are typos or mistakes, right?
That's what I would say, because if they're not being specific about something and it's open to scrutiny, there's a reason.
Exactly.
If they meant Article 3 of the Constitution of the United States, they would have stated it. But they named them United States federal judges.
Right.
So they just leave it open to assumption. You're just assuming that.
Yep.
That's not what
exactly. You're seeing what's not there. That's the trick. That's the
How they
trick.
get
And
you-
that's, you know, that's why they have it in the Philippines, and they announced it, and everybody knew about it and all that. Great stuff. Great stuff.
And Stu was a former judge. You know. You know what this is. Okay. So submission to the law. Okay, so there's your Article 3. So, oh, this is the personal autonomy. Now we're going to make this guy a country unto himself here. It says no one must give or attempt to give the judge orders or instructions of any kind. Seriously? What did that happen? What happened there? Folks listening or watching this, what just happened? It made the man a dictator. From his own political power, self-appointed political power. So no one must give or attempt to give the judge orders or instructions of any kind that may influence the judicial decisions of the judge. Well, then you can't even make a motion.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally, that's right, because the motion's moving the court.
Then they come in and says, except where applicable, the opinion in a particular case given on appeal by the higher courts. So, therefore, you cannot put any motions in because you can't give the judge orders or instructions of any kind. The instruction was, see, motions are instructions. Here, I want this is what you want. I want the court to do this. And the other guy comes back and says, no, we can't do that because of this. It's not a public hearing, folks. This is a private one. But they said that they want to ensure a public trial. You can't do that under this charter, and you can't do that under this sentence. It doesn't make any sense. And we're going to show you their secret here in just a few minutes. They put it right in plain sight. Right in plain sight. Okay, and the performance of impartiality and restraint and blah, blah, blah. So basically, everybody gets the idea that this is a lot of crap. In other words, it's just a pile of crap that everybody's standing in. And it's very clear what's going on in courtrooms all around the world. Everybody sees it, okay? Then it gets a little bit different, a little bit bigger. The problem. Listen carefully, guys, to Article 12. The right of a judge to belong to a professional association must be recognized. Now, if a judge does not have a particular right, or it has a right, and if all this was on the up and up, why do you have to recognize that the judge has a right to belong to a professional association if it wasn't against the law? That's like dating somebody, and all women will know this. All women will see this. You go out on a first date with a guy, and sometime through the day or through that date, he says out of nowhere, I would never hit a woman. I would never beat a woman. I love women. I respect them. Okay, if a guy does that, all women know. Get up, leave. The guy's a wife beater. He's a woman beater. Everyone knows that.
Right. The backhand's on its way.
Yep. So if you have to recognize a right for a judge to belong to a professional association, then that right doesn't exist. And everyone knows that. Now, we could recognize the right of an individual to belong to a professional association must be recognized. You didn't have to write that because that's already recognized. So what they're doing, what this communist organization is doing, is they're trying to bring in a right that doesn't exist. In order to permit the judges to be consulted, especially consulted by whom? You just said that they're not supposed to accept any, what was it,
Orders or
instructions
instructions of
Orders
any
or
kind.
instructions. That's right. Of any kind.
of
Except
any kind.
except when applicable.
The judges must be consulted. Well, you can't consult a judge because you just said you couldn't consult a judge. See, that's why it's so fun to watch communists operate, because they make the dumbest mistakes on the planet, and it's actually entertaining. And so we put it on the T ROH Show because it's entertainment. Watching this stuff, especially concerning the application of their statutes. Uh-oh, now we're talking about possessive.
Big word there.
Their statutes, ethical and otherwise, and the means of justice in order to permit them to defend their legitimate interests.
What interests are those, I wonder?
I thought he wasn't supposed to be impartial.
Mm-hmm. Dilemma.
In case you're not seeing it, folks, when we say their statutes, they're giving you an illusion. And this is exactly what's happening on the local, state, and federal level right now. It's a local, state, and federal level of the company. Under this charter, of which all the judges are a part of, whether they lie to you or not, they're a part of this charter. They're all under this charter, no matter what. If they say they're not, they are lying through their teeth, right there in front of everybody. Oh, I didn't even know about that charter. Sure you did. You have to know about that charter.
Yeah,
And
I'm
be a
willing to
part
bet.
of the Judges Association.
Exactly. I'm willing to bet you couldn't even get a judge's role without being a member of this stuff. This is all pre-organized, and they move you up through the ranks based on your compliance to these things.
Mm-hmm. They're asking people to trust these guys, and whenever you do that, there's a problem. Okay, especially concerning the application of their statutes. So what happens is the people on the local level vote for a judge. A lot of them are even appointed, but a lot of people will vote for it in some areas. Okay, so people think, I voted for you. That's our judge. You have to respect what he does or she does. And if you don't, you're an anti-government, terrorist. Okay, good enough, fair enough. That's not where it stops. That judge becomes a part of the association, the state association. That state association becomes or is a part of the federal. Then the federal is a part of the international. That international turns around and issues an independent charter to those judges that has the Communist Party all over it, by the way, making that judge that you just voted for a dictator over you. And in an association situation and under this charter, that judge has complete ownership over state laws. That's private ownership.
The statutes.
State laws and statutes. Private ownership of those statutes does not ensure a public trial. And that is the reason why a judge can turn around and tell the jury that they don't have the right to judge the law and the facts. You just wiped out your whole judicial system. This has been going on for years, folks. Years.
Decades.
So now, do you understand why a jury is instructed to, if they cannot judge the law? Because of the simple fact that the judge is sitting there, who's not really a judge, in my opinion, just said that statute is his, belongs to him.
Yep, that's exactly what he's communicating. He's just not saying it. He's saying, you can't judge the law. It's my law.
And these are the options I'm going to give you. You can only judge this, 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 and this. This is what I'm going to let you do. So now he's privately contracted with the private jury in a private trial. Does everyone realize that every case that has been tried under this charter, which is all of them, is grounds for mistrial? and that every one of those judges have committed acts of sedition by being involved in this crap? Not sedition against their country. It's not sedition against their constitution. I'm not worried about that. It's not sedition even against the government of the United States of America or anything else. It's sedition against their own country. By creating over 3,000 mini dictatorships. You've seen the facts. It's in their wording. It's right there in front of you. I haven't stopped sharing screens at all. You can read it for yourself. This is what you're dealing with. Let that
Wow.
sink in.
Yeah, I was gonna say this show today brings it all together for those who have been following and I mean you can actually see it here.
Right in black and white. I didn't make this up. This is their own website. They're telling you here this is what it is. So each police officer, and listen to us guys, okay, listen to what we're telling you. Each police officer and sheriff that have pledged themselves to uphold state statutes, what you did was you pledged yourself to the Universal Charter of the Judge, from the International Association of Judges, from a communist country. They use your pledge to use you as an asset and a weapon to enforce Communist Manifesto and any other stupid crap they come up with against your neighbors, your family, and your friends. And we're telling you now, they made you a traitor and you never knew it. So the next time a guy keeps telling you your crap doesn't apply to me, they're saying you're a traitor. They just don't want to say it to your face. They weren't able to prove to you that you were a traitor. Today, this program, you see it right there in black and white. Right there, guys. You can't deny that what you're reading. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, that means something else." Well, that's not what it really means. Because you're a liar. We're asking the police officers, the police officer unions, and everything else, stop fighting the people. Stop it.
They're on the wrong side.
Stop going against the people. It's not us against them. Quit enslaving yourself. Just stop it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
You know, I must say that, you know, I'm listening, right? And I'm putting myself in law enforcement's place, trying to kind of feel what is being said, you know, and that's a harsh reality.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's rough to hear, might cause some confusion, but you know, just start thinking. You know, you're trained, and in certain ways that the thinking is done for you already. All you got to do is act on it. But it's time to actually think about what is being said on the T ROH show. It's time to think about what it is that you're doing. I mean, I'm pretty sure you really are for law enforcement. You really are out there to try to catch criminals. You know, you are trying to make it a safe place, but the way that you're doing it is violating human rights. It's tearing up families. It's killing people. It's time to think, man. All of this is here. It's all the pieces are here put together for you. All you got to do is just, if you feel better about it, just verify it yourself. And man, you just got to think. I don't know any other way to put it, because I'm sure it's really hard to hear, but you know.
Right, because they go into office and they actually go to, they go apply and everything. I want to be a police officer. I want to be a sheriff. I want to be a deputy. And I want to serve the people. Okay? And they're just trying to serve their family and their friends, and they want to protect their city and all that. I get it. I do. I get it. They want to do the right thing.
Yep.
I really do get it, and that's cool. Question something every once in a while. If you see a judge doing something that ain't right, it just doesn't seem kind of right. It's just, hey man, that's unconstitutional. They actually can't do this. Blah 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 blah. You placed yourself to his own personal dictatorship. How many times has the judge told you this is my court and I'm the law here? This is where he's getting it, folks.
Yeah, can we quickly, since you brought it up, can we rehash the progression here? Basically, and correct me if I'm incorrect, but we've basically established that any individual either gets appointed or elected as a judge. That judge joins a state association. The state ties into a larger federal association that ties into an international association. That international association then turns around and issues the individual judge a charter that we've just covered.
Outside of any state, local charter, federal, national charter, anything, outside of everything.
Right. And that judge, via that charter, is given the ownership of the statutes established within that state.
Right, because in the charter it says that you must support the independence of the judiciary. So now the state is under the charter because they're supporting it.
And the legislature feeds the judge basically statute after statute after statute, so the judge can ring the register.
Because every decision a judge makes is not for the independence of the state or the independence of the people. It's for their own independence. So whatever judicial decision they're making, they don't care about your independence because they have their own, and they're there to make decisions to maintain their own independence, not the state or anything else. They're not public servants. They don't have any jurisdiction within a state within a federal or with anything.
That's right. They're not public servants.
That's according to their own charter here internationally. We're looking at it from an international point of view. But it's very easy to say, hey, you don't have the authority you say you do. Oh, you're anti-government, you're this, you're that, blah, blah, blah. To hide what you're actually up to. And what you're trying to achieve, which is your own independence. I mean, if you wanted your independence and stuff, go start your own country. It's not a problem. It's not hard to do. Just go do it. So it's just, this is stupid. It's a stupid thing to do. And every judge that I knew or know, y'all know better than that. Seriously, guys, you know better than what you're doing here. And you're going to fall for this stupid stuff and put yourself, your life, your family, your reputation at risk. For what? Because you can tell somebody what to do and throw them in your little private prison. You get a little couple bucks. You get a little chump change from what the International Association gets. You get little crumbs. Oh, I'm protected. They're just protecting you because you keep feeding them. You stop feeding them, you see how protected you are. They pull protection away from you in a heartbeat. They don't care
That's right.
if you don't play ball. And what kind of life is that? Seriously?
Kind of makes them should kind of make them feel expendable.
Yeah. And everybody knows that there's a difference between the United States of America and the United States, right? So everybody knows that. And who's the member of this charter? The United States of America. I bet you any amount of money that people listening or watching this program thought, well, they haven't proven they're part of that. There it is, folks. Right there. And Roma, Italy. Not Rome, it's Roma. It's different. But, it's in Italy. It's actually not a very long charter. It does all this damage in 15 articles. So, anything else to talk about? Other than, guess what the government of the United States of America is doing about this? You want to let them know, Stu?
We're exiling people that we identify that are in support of this and some other things. The Declaration of Interdependence as well.
Right. So if you've claimed a nationality or you've declared, what was it? You've declared residency, you get that exile protection, meaning what this government does is that when a judge, one of these guys, okay, not an actual one, but there was one in the actual county and there was an actual judge there, and he was there in plain clothes. He sat down and did his thing, and the guy was doing something wrong. We're not going to mess with that. He's under his own charter, ready to go. You did it. You did something in his jurisdiction. We're going to absolutely respect that. Hands down, respect that. Okay. We just don't have any respect for this whole communist plot crap. It's a stupid plan. I don't know who came up with this, but it's a really stupid plan if you're going to try to do something. It tells you why not that I'm complaining, but it does tell you why the NWOs failed utterly. It's because we got a bunch of idiots in charge.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I was gonna bring that up. I've got this internal, this gut feeling that the NWO it's falling apart.
It's because you're dealing with stupid.
And yeah, and you go through a document like this. Granted, it takes a little research. It does take some intellectual commitment, but you see a charter like this, and you begin to see how it's really just a house of cards, easily blown over. If people would just dedicate the time and energy to creating the wind.
Exactly. They're afraid of basically what you're thinking of is you're afraid of a piece of paper, and you got to stop, telling the people, that are afraid of this. You're just afraid of a piece of paper. You're afraid of a criminal, or you're afraid of somebody who's just not that bright and hasn't looked into this. So you have to understand, some of these people just don't look into it. Some of the local and state judges, they don't understand it. They don't look past their state. They don't look past anything.
Yeah, they just take their job, mm-hmm. and laugh all the way to the bank.
They make a lot of money, and they think, well, this is great, man. I made it to judge. And everybody praises them, mom and dad, the whole thing. My son or my daughter's a judge. They tell all their friends and all that stuff. And you're always treated differently. You were always, pampered to around the county, and that's just out of fear. People don't want you to to do a criminal act of putting them in your personal private prison. So, different than a tyrant.
So ultimately, the government is going to be identifying these particular individuals, and
when they don't respect
mm-hmm.
the political decision of the individual that wanted to claim a nationality under their political rights, and when they don't respect that, they're exiled. Their court and their pledge, exile. We will exile them from the states of the Union and the United States of America. We're talking about their charter and the police officers' pledge to that charter. It goes bye-bye. Now, some people are going to ask us, well, why don't you just do that altogether? And because you're going to create a massive amount of hysteria, you don't incite violence, and the people have not established their own charter and their own judiciary or judicial branch within their own counties. This is what happens when you go to sleep. This is what happens when you want to watch television all the time, or you want to, play video games and see what happened on Facebook. This is what happens. Somebody comes in and they take you over, and you can't understand why, and you want to say, hey, this is a violation of my human rights. Yeah, you're right, it is, but you allowed it to happen because you weren't vigilant enough.
Right. And enough of them get taken away, and then you become a very weak
Put you in a very weak political position. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very weak individual for mounting the fight.
Okay, I guess we're done. Thank you for listening to the T ROH Show. We hope you learned something today, and we hope that.
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah.
Do we want to quickly cover the knowledge base?
Yeah, we can do that. If you have any questions, absolutely we can. So let's go over here, and we'll go to.
This was just established last week.
That's generalpostoffice.net. You can go to the Help Desk Support Center, and if you want to ask a question, you can submit a ticket. And that way the department, you click that, and you can go to put your name there, priority, low, medium, high, urgent, emergency, or critical, the subject, and then put your question in. If you have a question about a specific document, you can attach it here, put your CAPTCHA, and hit submit. Click, it'll end up to us, and what will happen is we'll go to the knowledge base, which is, it'll go into one of these categories, or we will create a new category. And so the question and answer is available to everyone, and you can search in the knowledge base. And eventually we will be putting some news out. And if you want to go to the exile list, you go here, GOVERNOR, governor, dot, 1781.com. That's governor.UnitedStatesAmerica1781.com. And you go to exile list. It's got a lot of cool stuff on here. Okay, and here's your list. And there's the A's and B's and C's and D's, and it goes all the way down. And it's growing. We've got, I only got halfway through last night of putting these on, the ones that signed the Declaration of Interdependence, especially on the pages. So this is going to keep growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 140 signers or supporters, documented supporters of the Declaration of Interdependence. So there's Ed Koch right there. Yeah.
Where? Oh, yeah, Ed Koch. He signed it. Okay. Thank you for listening to the T ROH Show, and please share it with your friends. It's extremely important. It was exciting to us to find that proof that we actually knew about, but we had to prove it about the judiciary and what happened to it. Thank you for listening to the T ROH Show, and Stu, if you want to say goodbye, and Tony, if you want to say goodbye.
Thanks for Karen, and catch you next week.
Yep. Talk to you next week.